Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to discuss in our very first main segment of our breakfast show, Ibda or Start. This presidential initiative, which was launched exactly a year ago, aiming at fostering partnerships and industry support, training, research to fill this gap between imports and exports to provide youth with thousands, if not tens or even hundreds of thousands of job opportunities. All this and more in a very ambitious initiative to shed more light on what has been taking place throughout the past 12 months and the future of this initiative, inshallah, with of course the serious and loyal efforts by all of us. We are very much delighted to have with us via phone Engineer Mostafa Wali, former General Manager of the Federation of Egyptian Industries. A very good morning to you, Engineer Wali.
Good morning and happy Ramadan.
Happy Ramadan to you, sir, and of course to all our dear viewers. Before going into the details of Ibda or Start as a very important initiative in the field of industry, when I was reading about Ibda and about how it attracted really thousands to participate, to share, it was really amazing to find that since the very first year it invaded many new fields, or at least relatively new fields, like the silicon or the black sand, for example, like green hydrogen or renewable energy. How do you see, sir, starting with new fields, with starting in investing or opening the gate for the youth, for the investors, for the men of industry to enter new fields like the ones I mentioned as only examples?
Let me first refer to how you describe this initiative being an ambitious. It is not only ambition; it is one of the most ambitious, and its success will give a landmark in our march for a real more progress, more active, more industrialist in the real sense of the industry now in the world. And I agree with you total percent and 100%. And I think actually we should, as media, I'm talking now generally before getting into details, that we should highlight and always mention the role of this initiative, following it, showing it to everybody, the success stories, the actual stories, the problems facing, the solution of these problems. This will be a learning lesson for a whole nation. I am very, very impressed. And I remember that we discussed it just quickly a few weeks ago. And I'm very honored actually again to talk about this initiative. Well, to get to your answer, to get your question back, talking about the number and the types and the importance of the industries which will be for the first time introduced and the effect, it's very important to know that. If we talk about, let's take one example, this hydrogen, green hydrogen. That for us in Egypt will be, we could be, hopefully, inshallah, with a real determination and a little bit of luck, but more work and more studies, we could be the hub of this kind of industry, which the world will be after it soon, and it will be the most lucrative business, industry. Just an example, What you talk when you talk also about the chips and all this kind of sophisticated, when you talk about silicon products in general and the sophisticated industry of this kind of products, this is great, The only thing is that we have to match all this together under one umbrella, under the title and the devotion and understanding of real development based on scientific, based on actual figures, based on the real capacity, based on the prospects of success. This is essential, and I noticed this actually in the preliminary discussions about the initiative and even the follow-up of this. I hope I answered you, generally when it comes to
Yes, sir.
the
And of course, And let me go to a very important term which was used by President Sisi in many occasions, localizing industry. And the
Yeah.
importance of localizing industry as one of the main factors which is going to be a boost or a leap in the field of industry in general. How do you see the importance of this, sir, of instilling new industries here in Egypt, of depending on our local components, of producing the components of production locally and not to depend on the imports?
Yeah, to answer your question first, let me start with this. There is always for any product, especially sophisticated product in the sense of the number of components, the type of components in it. And this, of course, most of our daily life and even home appliances, everything is under this category. Behind the success story of any brand or any country even, it's including its brands, if there is more than one, is what you call feeding industry. When you talk feeding industries, it means that you have a end product and you have a lot of components needed for it. So as much as you can get for this final product, its aggregates or its inputs of products, of sub-products, and in the, of course, it should be first to the international standards, the latest and the best, and meanwhile, the competitive cost, which will turn into a competitive total cost of the product, then
Yeah.
of course, a competitive edge for the product. That's the most important thing. Then when we talk localizing, we are talking these objectives, this big story,
Yeah.
and which will be a real challenge for us. But of course, there is the basics for success in this
Yep.
sector. I can give you one item. I mean, one end product, for example. It's really big and important for automotive. This was the oldest industry, I mean, concerning the last 20 years, for example, 30 years when it comes to the age, to have a successful and very competitive cost of what we call feeding industries for up to 70% of the local of the contents of the trucks
Yeah.
and passenger cars. I'm just giving an example.
And despite all the global challenges and difficulties the whole world already witnessed, whether via COVID-19 or the Russian-Ukrainian struggle, which ended with the soaring prices, inflation, chain supply, energy, of course, difficulties related to currency, START has been able to implement and open 4 projects with a total savings exceeding 500 million US dollars. And we are talking only about 1 year. Then
Yeah.
I can say that it's only a start, and a lot of dreams can be true, a lot of ambitions can be realized on the ground, and we should do more to achieve more. What are the most important things to be listed in our homework for IBDA to continue with more successes?
Yeah. Well, just to highlight what you mentioned concerning the success stories so far within 1 year, I believe in the statistics, and I take the results, I mean, all the announcements and all the figures coming from this, from those responsible for running the business in IBDA. For example, it's written there in their on web page that it is now 64 industrial projects and 33 Egyptian companies participating in this, and 20 foreign countries, 20 foreign companies, 20 companies, and 12 countries, which shows you the variety and the importance. And when they mention such figure, it means it's taken seriously, and there are a lot of progress. Of course, things takes time, but at least initiation and the right initiation of getting into this business was done properly, was taken care of properly. And I see some pictures now on the the screen, proves what I'm saying, because I see some people working there. It's fascinating, actually. It's fascinating.
Sir, also the initiative had its role for the closed factories or the unlicensed factories. Now they are back to work, and as far as I remember, only a few days ago, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi signed a presidential decree to amend this issue, and particularly for the I-licensed factory to be integrated once again into our economic field, into our industrial field, because now no factory should be closed, and all procedures should be finished, and no more bureaucracy,
Yes.
no more waiting lists for obtaining licenses. Or no, we are all the time, as our political leadership is keen to say all the time, we are in a race against time, and we do not have time to waste. How do you see this, sir?
I see this from the perspective which you are talking about, talking licenses, that we have right now what is called golden license, which will fulfill all what you have been telling concerning, eliminating the problems, minimizing all the hassles, so that we have from the government side, because this is the governmental side, all the necessary regulations to be fulfilled, necessary requirements concerning the running of a factory, because running a factory is very important, or running a setup, industrial setup is something important, a lot have to be taken care of. So if this will be done in this case, and in this, of course, will enhance the speed and the courage for those who are going into this business, into this project, to see the support and feel it, and this will encourage them, give them, more encourage, to face. It's a challenge always, whatever, when you have a project. But
Yeah.
something else also we're talking about it. There were some factors were working, and they had either illegal, or what we call legal aspects, hindering their activities, and then it stopped for it. So handling it and solving it into the right course quickly and seriously, this also is a very good indication of what you are saying
Yeah.
concerning the government encouragement. Something else, even those who are passing by trouble problems, you remember, I think we talked about this very, very big initiative when it comes to the total support over 5 years of 200 billion Egyptian pounds for the industry and projects, for the industry at large. That's
When we
something
talk
very
about
important.
industry or about any economic file, I really prefer to speak in numbers or in statistics. The initiative has succeeded in fostering 64 investment partnerships to establish industrial entities with the participation of 23 foreign companies. Here, sir, we are speaking about a comprehensive integrated initiative, meaning that regarding the funds, there is coordination with banks, for example. Regarding the training, CSR or corporate social responsibility is playing a part with the mega huge companies sharing in this to give the training for youth who want to start their own career. In addition to paving the way for partnerships between Egyptian side and veteran foreign countries in this field in specific. How do you see this comprehensive or panoramic view? It's like a think tank in addition to being a source of finance, of visibility studies, of brainstorming to generate more ideas, everything. Hello?
Hello? Yeah?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I hear you. Yes, go. Yeah.
Sir, I was
Well,
speaking about.
I
I
got
was.
it. I got it. I got it. Yeah.
Okay.
May I answer?
Yes, sure.
Oh, something wrong with the voice there from your side or from my side? I don't know.
Sir, I can hear you well.
Now I hear you. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Fine. So you mentioned, I will not let it go. You mentioned it looks like a very big work of think tank.
Yep.
I like this expression because that's what you were talking about. It just not putting it in this title. As you know, that everything should be studied carefully to the best and to the most available and correct data, so that you to reach the conclusion for any aspect, for any step in your process for having a project or in treatment or solving a problem, industrial problem, whether it is financial, technical, whatsoever. So thanks for this description of the whole idea behind to be put in this fantastic term, the think tank, the real think tank. Back again to your answer, back again to the main subject. It is, of course, uh, when this you mentioned the figures again of those who will participate in with us in this new project. You know, it was classified that we have mega projects, our mega projects, you know, which will need a lot of product, a lot of activities, a lot of material, local and imported, and many things. And meanwhile, there are projects. Major projects will be with the biggest and the largest and most renowned brands and names in the world, if we manage. And we manage actually for some. Yeah, we have few of the best, some of the best, you know, brands and manufacturers in the world right now operating in Egypt in many industries, especially sophisticated ones. And in this case, I agree with you that highlighting this in a perspective that the government is handling and is looking carefully for each step, for each problems, for everything related to this idea, from even, you know, a small factory up to a new major project, as we were talking. And
Keen
when
to
this
have this strategic partnership with the private sector and pave the way for the private sector to have a big, good share in economic
absolutely,
development at large. Do you agree with that?
absolutely, I am taking this for granted. I mean, I didn't mention it, but I'm taking it for granted.
Sir, one
The
final
fact,
question regarding technical education and vocational training,
oh
because this
yeah,
is
yeah,
part and parcel of IBDA.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
without this, who is going to shoulder the responsibility of leading the initiative in the near future? How do you see the importance of vocational training, technical education in
Yeah.
paving the way for more successes, not only for this initiative, but for all initiatives we are launching?
Yeah, absolutely. You always very keen about highlighting the most important items in any subject. Training, actually, let's have the most important of it. I mean, the most needed now, the badly needed, is what we call TVET, Technical and Vocational Educational Training. That's abbreviation well known. I mean, when it comes to this point. This is highlighting, this is an important element for the labor and the level of the setup, industrial setup. What kind of experience and what is the level of those who are in the whole workshop floor? I mean, when we get to factory. Believe me, we were aware of it, you know, for long ago and tried as our best, I mean, as Egyptian entities, Egyptian companies, private and even public, in maintaining what was available over the years before. Can I say that, humbly, that I was responsible when I was in the Federation of Egyptian Industries for a very ambitious project actually at that time. It was according to the international standard. The title of this project, the standard, you know, national skills standard. This was our name for it, you know, and
Engineer
it worked.
Mustafa, Engineer Mustafa Wali, former General Manager of the Federation of Egyptian Industries, thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good day. Right after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.